I'm gonna teach you how to Olympic lift for CrossFit, and we're gonna start right now. So we've got to think about the Olympic weightlifting movements that CrossFit tends to use, okay? So they start off and they use the snatch movement. They'll use a power snatch. They'll use overhead squats. This is all part of Olympic lifting, okay? They will also use clean and jerk variations, and that might lead into a power clean, and then they'll say a squat clean, right? They'll use clean ladders, anything along these lines. And then they'll use these other variations like a barbell thruster. They'll do barbell cycling with a clean, or even a barbell cycling with a snatch where it's a touch and go right into that snatch. So we have to know the technique around it. And if we can just think about the basic technique of a snatch or a clean and jerk should be based around some simple concepts here, okay? Keeping the bar tight right off the floor to the knee. That means the knees have to clear back when we pull from the floor. As the bar comes around our knees, we need to keep that bar as tight as we can around our knee into our hips. So we want to think about that as the reciprocation point. The knees will clear back, then the knees will come under the bar to keep that bar nice and tight. And then as we get into the hips, we want to keep our feet flat for as long as possible, okay? CrossFitters, think about this as an explosive jump that's flat-footed. Okay, so we have this long pull with flat feet. We will plantar flex and get up onto our toes, and then we'll catch that clean or we'll catch that snatch. So if we have a basic understanding of what those movements are, okay, snatch, clean, jerk, thrusters, and barbell cycling, now we can really go into how we can improve those so that you can become a better CrossFitter. Okay, so I'm here with Haley Reichert. She's a senior national champ. She's a senior Pan Am champ. She's currently ranked #3 on the senior world team in the United States. And so we're gonna use Haley to demonstrate some of those key movements behind weightlifting for CrossFit. So we're gonna go over the snatch, the clean, the jerk, the push press, barbell thruster, barbell cycling, okay? So all these movements, and we're gonna try and keep it as simple as possible so that you can start to play around with these movements. So Haley's gonna establish her snatch grip. If you're a CrossFitter, you should know your snatch grip, okay? Real simple key could be, you know, put 2 fists on your head and that's where the barbell should be. Or as the bar sits here, move your grip out, and if the barbell moves up into your hip right here, that should be your grip. So Haley's gonna go down into the start position. Very easy concepts, okay? Here is that if Haley can keep the barbell, this bar right here, over her shoelaces, not over her toes, okay? Over her shoelaces, and by applying force through the back of her foot, middle of her foot, and the front of her foot, that's the key here. So to do this, she has to push her knees back, okay? Now you pause right below the knee, yeah, right there. So when the bar is right below her knees, her shins should be vertical. Now as the bar goes over top, and then pause right there, yeah, the knees will start to come forward. And if you look here from the side, the barbell is still over her shoelaces. Okay, now start to bring the knees forward more into the hip and keep flat-footed right there. Okay, so now this is where we want to be. She's still flat-footed, and here is where she's going to explode and have the most power, the most acceleration on the barbell. And the bar is still over her shoelaces. Okay, now go to that finish. Try and do it from an actual full. So she'll go knees back, knees through, finish. Good, perfect, one more. And even off the hip, we want to see the elbows come back, big shrug. She'll rotate the bar into that catch position, okay? So that's a crash course with the snatch. Now, clean technique. We're gonna do the exact same thing. We're gonna keep it as simple as possible. The key concepts, keep the bar as tight as you can to your center of mass. And that's gonna be, again, based around the shoelaces, okay? Shoelaces. So we want to see it here, not out here. We don't want to see too much weight on the heels where the toes pop. Okay, so she's gonna have the same principles. Pulling off the floor, the knees will come back, okay? Then the knees come under slightly. She'll get into the hip, finish and shrug. Good, bar stays tight, give me one more. And we wanna see, there should not be more than like a fist width between her chest and the barbell. Good, and if you watch Haley's best clean and jerks in slow motion, recently when she clean and jerked 108 kilos, you can just see the bar super tight in that finish, and she's quick to getting down into that catch position. So now we're gonna cover 3 exercises, basically all in one. We're gonna go with a push press, then we're gonna go into the barbell thruster, and then we're gonna go back to the jerk. So Haley's gonna demonstrate with that clean grip here. a dip that's gonna be for her about 4 to 6 inches, and then a big drive for a push press. Good. Maybe a little, just a slight bit more of a dip. So there's a slight dip, drive. Now on the push press, we wanna see a good tight dip. We don't wanna see rocking either way. We want all vertical force, okay? Dip, drive as vertical as possible. Give me one more. So that chest will stay upright. It's not going backwards. It's not going forwards. It's gonna stay nice and stable. Now we'll go from that position, okay? And I'm gonna say a little bit of a cue here. If you have a huge front squat, you can dip a little bit deeper if that's what you're used to. If your concentric strength is not that good, meaning your front squat isn't that strong, maybe you clean 90% of your best front squat, then you need to have a shorter dip because you're likely more explosive than you are strong. Okay, so that's just a little bit of a hidden gem here. Now Haley's gonna show us a split jerk, okay? So a split jerk, what we wanna see is that 4 to 6 inch dip for Haley. Some people that might be up to 6 to 8 inches depending on their height. We're gonna see that dip, okay? Still that long drive that we executed with the push press. And then she's gonna get in the split position. When we wanna split, we want 50% of our weight going forward, 50% of our weight going back, so 50-50, that's a key concept. And then recover with that front foot forward. Front foot first, sorry, Haley. Perfect jerk, good. Give me one more. And you can see the width of her feet get to as wide as they are when she caught her clean. Okay, give me one more. Good, okay, so now she's gonna hold that front rack position. She might get, her hands are probably getting, you okay, Haley? Now she's gonna go back to that push press thought process, okay? And we're gonna execute a thruster. She's got a very good front squat. I would argue Haley might be one of the best pound for pound front squatters for women in the entire country. She's done 5 triples at 115 kilos. Okay, that's 254 pounds, I believe. So Haley's gonna show us that front squat position, and as she comes out of the bottom, she's gonna keep accelerating into that push press. Big drive, good. And you can even get on the toes a little bit there, just a little. Good. And now go from the top right back to the shoulders. Good, one more. Good, okay, you can put that down. So the key factor here with a barbell thruster is having that eccentric strength to load that back up, squeezing through the guts, sort of pushing that belly button out, squeezing in your quads and your glutes as you lower that, and then get back into that front squat position. So to do that, you have to be very good at a push press. You also have to have that eccentric ability to control that back onto the shoulders. And now we're gonna go into that barbell cycling where I think a lot of CrossFitters tend to lose time. Now, before we go into the rest of this video where we continue to help you dominate weightlifting at your next CrossFit competition, let me give you a simple key tool that you can use to help recover inside of your CrossFit competitions. That's why I recommend the Mebach 3 massage gun. A bunch of our elite athletes use this in between sets to keep their muscles primed and ready to fire for their next attempt. It comes with a wide variety of attachments that can attack your muscles just the way you need it. With a long-lasting battery of up to 3 hours, it can handle all-day CrossFit competitions and keep you feeling good all day and ready to take your next attempt. Click the link down below and use the code GARAGEMEBACH for 10% off your order and pick up your Mebach 3 massage gun today. Now we got you ready to lift. It's time to go attack those weights. Okay, so I'm really excited here because Haley just tried to do her first barbell cycling and it was not that good, okay? So one of the big differences between weightlifting and CrossFit is that there isn't barbell cycling in weightlifting, but there is in CrossFit. So if we have to do a clean set of 10, ideally you would be able to be at a weight where you might cycle 6 to 8 of those and maybe the last 2 you can drop and just get it done. In CrossFit, it's a very big advantage to execute barbell cycling. And so Haley's gonna demonstrate this with a clean technique. And so we have to remember, okay, this is where I think a lot of CrossFitters lose time, lose weight, is that they'll lose position during the eccentric part of the cycling, okay? So we have to remember the key concept. The simplest thing for everybody to remember from this video is to keep the barbell over your shoelaces. If I can keep it right over my shoelaces, that's gonna keep it tight on the eccentric part where a lot of people get pulled onto their toes. They might get pulled onto their toes as they're lowering, and then they tend to jump back and they'll miss the bar forward and they get out of rhythm. Okay, so what we wanna think about is keeping the knees back, finishing flat-footed, catching, okay? And then we're gonna lower back down using our traps, and when we lower eccentrically here, we wanna think about traps, rhomboids. I recommend holding the hook even more, okay? Hold that hook as you lower. And then as we clear back, we wanna load our hamstrings and our quads as we flex our knees, okay? Now as we get past the knees, we push our knees back to load our hamstrings more, give our quads a little bit of a break. Keep the bar over the shoelaces, touch, go, okay? So one of the big concepts that you can relate this to is a touch and go deadlift. It's the same sort of feeling. Touch, go right away. It's a stretch shortening. So we need to learn how to do that. Haley's never done it, okay? So this is where it'll be pretty enjoyable for me. Think about doing a clean pull with a slow eccentric, but touch and go right away. Let's do 3. Good. No, touch and go right away. So this is also where I love CrossFitters, because CrossFitters are so aggressive that most CrossFitters will come into our gym and they don't even think about it. If they have to do a triple, they're gonna barbell cycle as long as the weight's not too high. So Haley has to learn that.
Just wanna, like, get set again.
Yeah, no getting set. Think as you pass the knee, you start to get set right before you're bouncing it off the floor. Yeah, touch it though. Now hammer it. One more. Okay, so one way.
Contact.
You're not making contact because the weight might be a little light. Now, the next thing is if you have this situation with Haley, okay, so this is not staged at all, is now we can relate this to with Haley's case because she's never done boom, boom, boom stuff where even when Haley does on the minute cleans, it's still a little slow. If Haley does a triple, it's gonna take her at least a minute to get done. No, that's true. So one way that we can also relate this to is getting an individual to do a hang clean. Okay, so we do a hang clean without actually dropping the bar. So they do 2 to 3 hang cleans, then they start to do a bounce or a cycle off the floor. So let's try that again. 3, and you gotta hit it a little harder. Try and hit harder and drive through the heels when it's bouncing. Maybe the floor. Maybe you should put more weight on. A little faster now. Give me 2 more. That's better. There, 1 more. Good. Now, in a CrossFit competition, you are gonna hit the floor a little harder than Haley. The key concept when you're making contact is to push through the heels. That's where the heels cue comes into play very, very well. It's sit through the heels as you go to bounce, and that's gonna help you light up off the floor and execute that barbell cycling a little bit more effectively. Okay, so if we're gonna train weightlifting for CrossFit, a couple of the tests that they might give us would be based around a speed ladder, a max ladder, a max out time period. You know, these are some good examples. So first we're gonna show you a unique way to do a speed ladder. And think about a speed ladder as cleaning, 70% of your max, cleaning 75%, cleaning 80%, cleaning 85%, okay? As quickly as you possibly can, as fast as possible, within 30 seconds in most cases. So we'll just demonstrate quick here how you could do that in the gym. And then after that, we'll talk about the max ladder, and we will also talk about a max out session. So Haley's gonna do 1 clean. She's gonna throw on that weight. I'm gonna throw on this weight. We're gonna take that off after her second clean and put on the big greens, and that's gonna be an example of how you can do a speed ladder. So Haley, let's go. No slow poke. So that's her first one. So she's got to put the weight on as fast as possible. We'll go again right away. Faster, Haley. Good. Take that off, and now we'll go to 55 as fast as possible. Right away. Good, perfect. So that could be in a training situation, you could do that for 4 or 5 sets, and then each set you just build up a little bit heavier, but that's a really good way to use the technique that we taught you for the clean to execute a clean speed ladder. Okay, so if we're gonna talk about the max out ladder, okay? One of the easiest ways, when you're in a gym, if you're confined even in your garage, you might not be able to do an actual ladder where you've got 5 or 6 barbells set up. So what we like to do is say, all right, let's do a on the minute or a 45-second attempt. So every single 45 seconds, we take an attempt, okay? So let's say you clean 100 kilos and then you put on 110 kilos and you clean that when 45 seconds is up or when 60 seconds is up. And so every single minute or every single 45 seconds, you're building slowly. So you might start at 60% or 70% and then build all the way up to a max. The unique part about this, especially if we're doing on-the-minute drills with the snatch, is that a lot of weightlifters even will get into a groove, they'll get into a good technical rhythm, they'll hit these big snatches during on-the-minute movements because they just get into the zone, they're thinking less, they're cutting off their brain, they're executing that really good technique that we taught you earlier in the video. And now finally, one of those other big tests that CrossFit tends to use is going to be a max out session, okay? So think about a max out session as, for a weightlifter, it might be a 40-minute time frame to work to a max. And weightlifters might move to a max, drop down, and then go back up to a max. But in CrossFit, that usually isn't the case. We're looking at like a 10 to 12 minute window, sometimes even shorter. So ideally what you would do is you set that 10-minute time frame, you're well prepared, you're well warmed up, you're visualizing, you've focused on that technique, you've warmed up with that good technique, you're keeping the barbell over your shoelaces, you're clearing those knees back, you understand how to reciprocate your knees, all those things are being done. But you give yourself an 8 to 10 minute time frame to work to that big max, and then you can do that from a week to week perspective so that you can see how you're making progress regarding those max out sessions. Okay, before we get into that conclusion, if you need a sample week program to help you be a better weightlifter in CrossFit, we put together a sample week that you can click on the link down below, enter in your email, it'll take you to garagestrength.com, you can enter in your email and you'll get a week template that shows you how we would go about using weightlifting principles to help improve you as a CrossFitter. Now, as we close out this video, we have to understand the whole goal is to make you a better CrossFitter. So we have to establish the technique first, okay? Technique rules, okay? Then that's gonna take us into analyzing muscular. Do you have discrepancies in your movements? Let's find where those movement patterns are suffering and let's try and fix those, and that will enhance our technique. And then finally, we want to put these together. Take the technique, take the muscles, put them together so that you can perform at a higher intensity as a CrossFitter when you're being challenged with those weightlifting tests. And if you want a full-blown 12-week program, you can click on the link down below in the description. You can head over to garagestrength.com. Maybe you don't want that free download, and instead, you want that 12-week program, the 12-week hybrid fitness program that we put together to help you become a better CrossFitter. Click on the link down below, head over to garagestrength.com and pick that up today. And remember, when you go to the gym, you always have to cultivate your power. Peace.